Administrative matter.
Thank you, Lord.
Administrative matter C, receiving a report from the Baton Rouge Chief of Police Murphy Paul and Mayor President Sharon Weston Broom regarding the allegations surrounding the Brave Cave. The reason for the emergency administrative matter is to allow an immediate public hearing on this matter. Council members, in accordance.
No.
Oh, excuse me. I need a motion to waive the rules. Motion by Councilmember Dunn Jr., seconded by Councilmember Hurst. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on the motion to waive the rules? Anyone wishing to speak on the motion to waive the rules? Is there any objection to the motion to waive the rules? Is there anyone here wishing to speak on the item? I would request that we have the report first before we speak on the item. So at this time, Mayor President, it's on you. Chief Paul, it's on you.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, sir.
I wanted to speak with this body today to provide an update on the current investigations that we have in the Baton Rouge Police Department. I want to first start off by saying our unwavering commitment to the people of Baton Rouge and the good men and women of this police department. And as an agency, we, the BRPD, does not avoid accountability. I wanted to provide a timeline on our investigative process. We begin a formal investigation into the narcotics processing facility located at 4443 Plank Road. That formal investigation was initiated on 8/28 of this year. The Narcotics Processing Center is a facility that's been used by specialized divisions like narcotics and street crimes as a processing room for prisoner processing, for paperwork, report writing, packaging evidence after arrest. That facility has 9 cameras in the facility. Digital Watchdog is the name of the system, which records to a hard drive DVR with 2 TB or terabytes of video, which is recorded via motion detection. When we first learned of this investigation, these incidents and complaints, we initiated investigations by our Internal Affairs Division as well as our detectives. So there's parallel investigations that were initiated administratively, where we look at policy, training, procedures, and criminally, was there any criminal violations that occurred during these incidents? We conducted a press conference on 8/29 announcing that the investigation had initiated. On that same day, one of the officers who was highlighted in that investigation, Troy Lawrence Jr., rendered his resignation prior to termination as a result of an administrative investigation. On 8/31, I stood alongside Mayor President Broom right outside of this facility when we announced the closure of the narcotics processing facility, as well as the disbandment of the BRPD street crimes unit. After we closed the facility down in late August, I met with members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation requesting assistance in an independent investigation by our federal partners. As of this date, the Baton Rouge Police Department is currently working 9 internal affairs complaints that have come in by way of our website, that have come in from attorneys, and by email. We also have 4 criminal investigations that are currently being worked by our detectives. As stated earlier, these investigations are parallel. One of the criminal investigations that is being worked has been closed by arrest. Troy Lawrence Jr. was arrested for a simple battery as a result of one of those criminal investigations. We still have 2 ongoing investigations that are being currently worked. We have another investigation that led to 3 Baton Rouge police officers being placed on administrative leave. This morning, I placed Deputy Chief Troy Lawrence on administrative leave as a result of the criminal investigation. We will be announcing some advancements in that criminal investigation where we will be providing specific investigative efforts and progress in that criminal investigation. We're going to continue to work with our federal investigative partners in this particular investigation, and we will continue to ask citizens to report any incidents of police misconduct to us. We're also asking you to reach out to the Federal Bureau of Investigation if you don't want to provide that information to the Baton Rouge Police Department. What I can say, we remain steadfast in our commitment to this community by being transparent. We will hold ourselves accountable. Unfortunately, we have dealt with a matter like this before, and I am confident in investigative efforts of our police officers. And we believe that those investigative efforts will yield accountability that's going to meet community expectations.
Chief, hang tight. Mayor President, you want to say something? Sure, absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. I will tell you that at this time, our community is working through a challenge to the foundation of how we believe police should engage with our citizens. And I want to be extremely clear. I know we are all committed to ensuring accountability, justice, and reform within the Baton Rouge Police Department. Chief Paul just shared the timeline and current actions that the police department is taking. I want to stand here and reiterate a few of those. At this time, there are 3 simultaneous investigations happening. The FBI is conducting an unbiased external investigation, ensuring impartiality, accountability, and transparency in this process. BRPD, as you heard Chief said, is conducting both criminal and administrative investigations of activity connected to this unit and any other behaviors that do not align with 21st century policing. I have made my steps clear. We have permanently shut down the facility known as the Brave Cave, permanently. In addition, the street crimes unit has been disbanded. This does not mean reckless behavior within our community will be tolerated or allowed. There are still law enforcement on the ground fighting crime on a daily basis. The actions of a few should not and will not define the dedication and integrity of the hundreds of men and women with BRPD who are making the right choices every day. Choices to truly protect and serve the community under their sworn oath. Lawful conduct and accountability are essential for crime fighting. They are the foundation upon which public safety is built. There are training practices like procedural justice that have just been implemented since 2017 through our training academies. And it is critical that we advance this into policies and that all, not just our new officers, go through procedural justice training. We must also provide veteran officers with refresher courses to maintain their regular participation of the practices. Over the last 7 years, we have really worked to build on increasing trust, fairness, justice, and mutual respect with BRPD. Chief Paul and I have made the investments. We have worked tirelessly to adopt national best practices and to address elements within the institution that focus on excessive force, recognizing the trauma that it can cause. Our progress has been demonstrated through various benchmarks we cannot forget, such as the release from the 39-year consent decree in 2019, the implementation of procedural justice policies, and expanded diversity within our department to better mirror the community that they are dedicated to serve. While we have been recognized for these investments both locally and nationally, these recent allegations show us we still have work to do. Now, since this incident was brought to light, I have been focused on taking a deeper look at our policies and procedures to ensure that they align with the highest standards of law enforcement and meet the needs of our community. Our paramount objective is justice, and we encourage anyone with pertinent information or similar experiences to submit their complaints through our online portal at brpd.com. In closing, to continue our work to foster a police department that serves our community with the utmost integrity, accountability, and transparency, it is imperative that all facets of our community are at the table. That is how we built progress since 2017, and it will continue to be how we work. The path forward will consist of the necessary planning and implementation of how Baton Rouge approaches community-led accountability, enhancing transparency, and creating shared oversight for the Baton Rouge Police Department. This may come in the form of an independent and impartial body responsible for reviewing police actions, reviewing complaints, and providing a platform for residents to voice their concerns, to share their perspectives, and directly participate in shaping policies and practices. These actions will identify areas for improvement in policies, procedures, and training. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Room. God bless you. We're going to have any public comments. Is there anyone here before we take questions from council members, is there anyone here wishing to speak on the item? Come down, state your name and address for the record. Anyone here wishing to speak on the item?
My name is Reverend Alexis Anderson. My address is 248 Steele Boulevard. I am a resident of this parish, and I want to first make two statements. The first one is, I am so proud of the two young attorneys who had the courage to care more about the citizens that nobody else pays attention to and bring this situation to light. I am extraordinarily grateful to those young people who are currently public defenders. Secondly, I don't doubt for 1 minute that there are fine people who took a job working in one of our over 40 law enforcement agencies in this parish that care to do a very good job, but that does not change some fundamental facts. First and foremost, as most of you know, because you've seen pictures of my grandchildren, I will tell anybody that grandparenting is more important than me. The ideal that a grandmother was sexually assaulted by people who get paid off of my dollar is beyond offensive. I was done when teenage boys in the middle of the street were sexually assaulted under this administration, under my tax dollars. I have fielded phone calls, texts, and emails from lawyers all over the country looking at international law. We know this is going to be worked out in the courts. But the truth is, right now, there are still people associated with this unit sitting in opportunities to continue this behavior. It is not being addressed. This was a fundamentally and substantially proven unconstitutional policy. Law enforcement means you are supposed to know the law. I have had the honor of fighting with all my strength and having the opportunity to tell everybody on this council, whether you wanted to hear it or not, that I was working to make this the kind of place that I would want my grandchildren to be in. I'm beyond ashamed. There are going to be millions of dollars of lawsuits. And this is not one situation. This is a continual situation. We are on ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox News. The international press compares this to Abu Ghraib. Comparisons to the Chicago scandals. We keep talking about we want to be a 21st, 22nd century. Maybe we should just stop being a mass terrorism facility. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on the item? Anyone else here wishing to speak on the item?
Gary Chambers, Mickens Road, Baton Rouge. You know, there's been a lot of conversation about accountability. 2017, I walked into this council meeting to talk. Got carried out and arrested for talking. You got 10 officers that carried people into a warehouse building owned by the city parish government, stripping black women, black boys, by the hundreds. If that was my daughter and that man was going to sleep tonight in his bed, I wouldn't be all right with it. And the fact that people we elected have been silent about it, I don't understand how you're all right with it. Now, if I could come in here and you see me get carried out of here and arrested for talking, what do you think the women who had to experience that feel like? One of those women, their husband was there when it happened. Husband couldn't defend his wife, couldn't do anything to help his wife. How would you feel, brother? No, if that was your wife. You won't harm that man. And anybody else in here would, if that was your child or your loved one. And the question is, if it was a white woman that was carried into a warehouse in Baton Rouge, bent over and spread open, would y'all have been this quiet for this long? Would it have had to be a national story? Because when white women get killed in this community, you got a press conference every week. Where's Hiller Moore, district attorney? All about justice, huh? Can't find him. Now, this chief has done an honorable job since he's been here, better than any of his predecessors. That's why we want him to make an arrest, because we trust him, not the Federal Bureau of Investigations, because when they had out to Sterling, they kicked it back down here. So for me, I don't want state police. They dealt with Ronald Green. What I know is the voters of this parish elected that woman sitting in that box, and she hired this man sitting in that chair. And we trust them to do the job we elected them to do. And passing the ball ain't good enough for me. Now, I ain't come down here bothering y'all since y'all been on this council. I've been minding my business. But whenever black folks are terrorizing this community, that's my business. And I'm gonna show up. Because too often we ignore the humanity of black people in this community. If it was happening in South Baton Rouge, it'd be hell all over this city. The sheriff's department would be raining down hell on anybody involved. Troy Lawrence went to bed in his own bed last night. And so did 9 other officers involved and still working on the street crimes unit. Get them off the street. And arrest them like you arrested me in 2017 and put me all over the doggone news for talking in a meeting. It's cowardice, It's wrong, and we shouldn't have had to make it national news to get it to this council. But I promise you, I ain't done.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on the item?
All right, afternoon, everybody. Gino McLaughlin, 5838 Tarrytown Avenue, Baton Rouge. I'm gonna echo my brother's sentiments here. This shouldn't have to make national news to bring some of us out of semi-retirement to come out here and talk to you guys, right? Oftentimes when y'all see us, we're meeting behind closed doors, but just know we can come here and get the business clear too. I do appreciate, you know, some of the things that the mayor and some of the things that Chief Paul articulated, right, about some of the things that they stepped out and did. But this went on, this has been going on presumably for over 20 years, right? So let's talk about how many people that we don't know about. What you guys don't realize, when you saw me step out about 5 minutes ago, I got a phone call from somebody else telling me that they were also taken to the Brave Cave. How many other people has this happened to? And we need to find out who those people are, and we need to have a strong investigation. We need to fire those cops. If there's any sort of criminal activity, which we know there's plenty of that going on, they need to be fired, they need to be arrested, and held to the highest level accountable. I also want to talk about something that Councilman Hurst and Councilman Dunn brought to this chamber back in February of this year. You see, this started with Jeremy Lee and 5 other individuals on January 9th that were arrested outside of their home. But what they didn't tell you is that in that same home, that the police used a militarized unit to drive a hole straight through the front of that home. They didn't have to do that. Matter of fact, if you go back and watch the tape, what you'll find out is that those individuals there, they asked them not to. They said, we'll actually go open up the door for you. There's nobody else left in the home. We'll go open up the door for you. Matter of fact, the side door is unlocked right now. You can go walk through, but instead, they drove a hole straight through the front of that home. As it stands right here today, September the 27th, that hole still stands in that home right now. Open to the elements. There's a 6-month-year-old baby that lives in that home. That's unacceptable. And these 2 councilmen brought an agenda item that asks you guys to address situations just like that. You have the power as well to fix some of this injustice as well. Address things like that. Do what's in your purview. Don't just call them up here for a show. Get some of the business done yourself. Because as I know as it stands right now, those young people in that home, there's nobody in that home right now over 20 years old, right? Nobody in that home over 20 years old. They lost their mother during COVID-19. They don't have the means or the resources to fix a hole. They are plugging that hole up right now with a bed mattress. With a mattress and a bed sheet and some plywood. And it still gets hot. It still gets cold. When it's rainy outside, the elements come into that home. Why haven't we done anything about that? Fire the cops. Also, we need to halt some of these investigations. Right now, people are still being persecuted with unjust evidence that was taken through the same Brave Cave. We need to halt all the investigations, all the prosecutions. Bring Hiller Moore up in here as well. Ask him what is he doing about it. So fire the cops, but also fix the house.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on the item? Anyone else here wishing to speak on the item? State your name and address for the record.
Laramie Griffin, 2001 South Sheriff Forest Boulevard, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70816. I came up here to speak because it's so important, because after this story broke, I've just been getting, calls and messages about what's been going on. And I just want to just ask, I guarantee that most of the council don't even know where this cave is or haven't even been by it. I want you to imagine driving down a dark road, off a plank road, after you've been handcuffed, knowing you are in your rights, down another road that has no name. And then driving down that bumpy, raggedy road that has potholes. There are no street lights passing by the first precinct, passing by another building, another large parking lot. and passing by another building, and then also passing by construction equipment and construction trucks, and then passing by another building that is all white, all tin. It is pitch black. And you know in Baton Rouge, if there's no street lights, it is dark. We're in the South. This is the country. It is dark. And then someone stepping out of their vehicle, sliding open a chain link gate fence, and then telling you to get out of that car and go inside this building. I guarantee most of the people that stepped inside of that building didn't know they were going back home. That is a terror. That is a scare. Those people were coerced, humiliated. They were sexually assaulted. They are mentally traumatized, humiliated. And I just can't imagine also being a law-abiding 47-year-old grandmother. I couldn't imagine myself. And I've been in some situations where I thought I wasn't coming back because I was in the military. But that was the military. The police force have been militarized here in Baton Rouge at a large degree, and it's been going unchecked for way too long. And also imagine after you've been humiliated and assaulted, whether you're a teenager or a grandmother, to be dropped off at Avery's in North Baton Rouge in the middle of the night, maybe with no cell phone, no way to get home. Where are my friends? I was by myself. What would you feel like? And how long has that been going on? This is just very disgusting. I did not realize when I moved back to Baton Rouge 11 years ago that my friends and my family were going through this. And that's why I haven't left. And I do thank the lawyers and the council people that have been very transparent, and the mayor and the police chief who have been very transparent and open about what's been going on. But something needs to happen. If this building has been used for this reason since its inception, it needs to be removed because it has no other reason to be there. There are excavators and front-end loaders right next to the building. We don't want to, we know that the mayor said it is shut down, but we want to make sure and realize that it is really shut down. We want the doors open, and we want those 10 buildings on the ground so no one else uses that building for anything else. It is a 10 building. It doesn't cost that much. It is a 10 building, but has a lot of trauma inside of it. Too much trauma, lifelong trauma. So let's get this thing done right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on the item? Anyone else here wishing to speak on the item? State your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Katora Butler Reed. You said to say my address too?
Yeah.
Okay, 167 West Washington, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm basically here because I think there needs to be a level of accountability. Ever since we've heard about the Brave Cave, and I honestly refuse to believe that this is the first time where everyone is really understanding what has been going on. I can only imagine the level of trauma and terrorism is being done to our people, and it's quite frankly disgusting because when we elect you all into office, we know that we can trust you. There should be a level of transparency, and I basically don't believe that you all are operating with a sense of urgency, and that's what's even more disheartening. And when I think about, I actually was able to go with Laramie, who just spoke. We went to the Brave Cave, and all I could think about is the young people that were there. And it really, honestly, it just, the worst comparison I can really think about is when you go to those slave castles like the Gory Island. See, I've been in those places, and I can hear the trauma and terrors and the whispers of my people, and I know that that's what it sounds like in there. To be stripped, terrorized, traumatized, just basically dehumanized. And that's what you all have been allowing to happen. I refuse to believe somebody didn't know. Somebody knew. So it's your job to fix that with a sense of urgency, because it's taking a little bit too long. And I actually have some people with me who have came all the way from all across Louisiana that they also wanted to speak. So I'm gonna just go ahead and pass it to them really quickly.
Well, no. Take your time. They all get 3 minutes, so take your time.
I mean, I think I might have said all that I could say right now because I'm just it makes me really emotional to know what has happened. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on the item? Everyone who comes to the mic has 3 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Pastor Reverend Wilford Johnson from New Iberia, Louisiana, and I'm here in representation of a New Chapter Push community organization, as well as Black Voters Matter. We're here again in support of the Ronald Green protest at the Capitol, and also to stand before you to let you know that we saw this, we watched this, and to know that something like this has been in existence as long as it has been, and know the effect that it has had upon the people that went through that building touches my heart. Why? Because it could have been me, could have been my grandson, it could have been anybody. Even though we're not from here, we travel through Baton Rouge a lot. We could have been stopped by the police, pulled over, and brought into that building and terrorized, just like those young men and the grandmother and all those that had went through there. I think it's important to note to every one of you that are sitting here today, and as I look into your faces, there shouldn't be person after person after person to speak against this. I know already in your heart you are being convicted, because I can feel the presence of the Holy Spirit moving through this room. And I think that you need to make the better judgment and follow your heart and do something about this injustice, to do something about these officers who conducted this. Let them know that they did not get away with what they did. I'm telling you, it's national. In Baton Rouge, y'all make us look bad to see us, the capital of the state of Louisiana, to tolerate bullcrap like this and not do nothing about it. Make us proud.
Thank you. Come on down, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Devon Norman. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana. I'm here with the Village 337, Black Voters Matter. We are partnered with the New Chapter Push. The NAACP is here as well, State Division. And we just want to say that, again, echoing the words of Reverend Johnson, it is embarrassing what's happening in our state capitol. I lived here for 3 years. I served this community working as a family service counselor and pre-need specialist at Green Oaks Memorial Park and Funeral Home, serving people of different creeds, cultures, and backgrounds. To be able to see what was able to happen at a funeral home, it's sad that we can't do that as a city. It's sad that we can't come together and make sure that we protect, love, and serve our people as a community. And I think that we ought to call it like we see it. The fact that we are saying that, we didn't know that this existed, or we didn't know that things like this was happening. I mean, I lived in this city more than 4 years ago, and I knew stuff like this was going down. It's no secret. I don't think it's ever a secret when people are being tortured and beaten and brutalized. And I think that even people in positions of power have a whole lot more of an awareness of what's happening than people on the streets. And so we want to let it be known that all across Southwest Louisiana, we are watching what's happening in the Capitol. And when we are called on by our brothers and sisters here who are fighting for justice, boots on the ground, we do come to the Capitol when we can. And we will continue to come. We've been here. We've marched in front of the governor's mansion. We've marched at the state compound. We marched and we made the former colonel resign. And we will continue to put that type of pressure, if we have to, on whoever we have to. As we continue to watch this unfold, we will do our own investigations and research in partnership and coalition with all of the organizations that you see here today and more. And trust me, there are many more back home watching all across that Southwest Louisiana region. And we plan to extend that all the way up to the north of this state and wherever else we have to. Of course, even petitioning on our federal government to get involved, which I would think we wouldn't have to petition for something like this for them to get engaged and get involved. Again, it's embarrassing that we have to call Baton Rouge our state capital and we see what's happening in the Capitol. If we know one thing Louisiana is going to be in the news for, it's going to be for something racist, something messy, and something dirty.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here wishing to come on down, ma'am? State your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Tammy Jones, 9522 West Coronado Drive, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70815. I wasn't gonna come because I didn't even think I would have a voice. It really hurts my heart when I was on that meeting and heard about the incident with the young woman when they put the thing through the house, and not just that it happened, because it's nothing surprises me anymore here, but that it happened way in January and nothing was done. I was like, wait, I'll buy a door. They was like, no, Tam, it's more than a door. It's a whole damn frame. And it's embarrassing to live somewhere where people don't care enough, because I'll take my whole damn paycheck and fix that house. How could y'all be okay? How could anybody be okay with a family living in a house? It's been damn hot. I have AC, I have fans and ceiling fans, and it's still hot in my house. So could you just imagine that? I was so mad. And just to say, so I'm not going to repeat all the stuff that's been said, but what I want to say, because I stood before you all a couple of months ago about another situation and about what happens when you put people backs against the wall. Y'all talk about y'all want to make our city safe. We're not safe. I'm scared as fuck. I want to go get me an automatic gun because I don't know, because y'all are putting us in a situation where we don't know what's going to happen here. So people thinking they're going to have to take stuff in their own hand because the people that we trust and elected are not doing it. And so I just wanted to look at all of y'all, because I meet with a lot of you all on different occasions. And I want to know how much longer this is going to go on. How much longer are you going to be okay with this happening and not doing anything about it? That woman shouldn't even be in that house. I mean, move her in a hotel or somewhere. Them children shouldn't be there. These are our children. Our children have been abused and traumatized for far too long. I don't care what happened in the house. They could have had a kilo. That's the adults. But the children shouldn't have to suffer like that. And so we need to do something. We need to do it now.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on the item?
Reverend Frederick McDaniel, 1507 Willow Street, Franklin, Louisiana. I come from a family of law enforcement agencies. My grandfather, my uncle, Marshall, brother come out the military, went into law enforcement, and for some reason, he decided to get out of it. And he shared with me why he got out of it. Because things was not the way he thought it was in the law enforcement agency. It's supposed to serve and protect. But there were people that were doing what they wanted to do because they was covered by somebody else watching their back. And what is going on now today, we shouldn't be going backward, we should be going forward. We should be doing positive things, not allowing these things to go on to people. Not just black, not just white, but that's anybody. Because there are things going on today that shouldn't be going on. We should be going forward in the future, not back in the past. We should be stepping forward to look to so our children can have a future, not being scared to take on a job that they know they don't have any control over. To get into law enforcement is supposed to be a positive thing. Supposed to be able to trust our officers, be able to trust the people that's in charge, that's over them, not allowing things to go on like this and putting fear in the people's heart that vote you guys in, to make sure that things are going in the direction that it should be going in, forward and not backwards. Forget the thing that's behind us. Let's press on forward for the best that's in front of us.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on the item?
Good evening. I'm Marja Broussard, 308 North San Antoine, Lafayette. I'm also the NAACP Louisiana State Conference District D Vice President and the state's political action chairperson. I'm here to add my voice to the many with the deep concerns of all these allegations of law enforcement terrorizing people. Those actions, you all know, we're kind of singing to the choir. You guys know that this is unacceptable. You know that this is unacceptable. You know that this is unacceptable. Why you haven't done anything about it, I haven't a clue. Law enforcement agencies have a critical role of maintaining law, order while protecting the rights and the well-being of all residents. It is of utmost importance that we hold these agencies accountable. You know this. I'm not saying anything that you don't know. You know that these officers need to be held accountable. You know this. Am I right? You know this. I urge the city to take immediate action in addressing this issue. It is crucial that we have transparency and accountability. It's important that we also do something to rebuild the trust in the law enforcement and community. That's important, that we have the trust of law enforcement. And you guys here, we have to trust that if something is done. I saw the press conference about the young lady. By the way, guys, I'm a proud mom of 8 daughters. And trust me, if those law enforcement officers was to take any one of them somewheres and have them spread their cheek and spread their vagina, it would be a problem. I guarantee you. But we know this. This is not rocket science. We know this. So I just urge you guys to do something about it. We are part of NAACP. We want resolutions. I don't know what your plan is, but I like to believe when I leave here that I have the confidence that I have addressed you, many others have addressed you, and you guys are gonna get together and you're gonna take care of this problem. That's what we're expecting. That's why you were elected. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on the item? Councilmember Rocker.
All right. So I'm looking at my council members here, all 11 of you.
Councilmember, we have somebody else coming. You want to speak and then she come after you, or you want to keep going?
Up to her.
Oh, you not coming, ma'am? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember.
So I'm looking at all 11 of my council members, and my question is, after hearing all of these comments, who's going to tell the people? Which one of us are going to tell them? Who's going to stand up right now with me and tell them that this issue came before us months ago, and we asked for something to be done, yet here we sit tonight? I'll stand. Anybody else going to stand with me? Because I know y'all are all in the room with me. So with that being said, I am sorry to disappoint each and every one of you out there. The council has no power to do anything over this. The only thing that we have the power to do is to not approve funding. So I am here to tell you that it did not fall on deaf ears tonight. We heard the pleas long before you stood in this council chamber. We heard the pleas when the first lawsuit came before us for a bad actor that acted in the same manner as Blaine Salamone years ago. That excuses were made and he was left on the force. Yet here we sit yet again with innocent victims in our city being victimized, whether they committed a crime or not. Here we sit. Here we sit. So we have folks coming up and looking to us and telling us what we did and didn't do. And I am here to tell you, we have done what we could. And I know the buck doesn't stop here. And I have said the serenity prayer over and over again, every day and every night. And I am telling you, I may not have the wisdom, I may not have the serenity, but I stand with all of you and say, I have the courage. And if the FBI wants to come and talk to me about what we know and what we've seen and what has been ignored, I welcome them to it.
Councilmember Hurst. Ma'am, you want to speak? Yes. So let's do this. Anyone who is here for the public hearing, please line up behind the lovely young lady in the canary yellow jacket. If there's anyone else wishing to speak. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Trinell Willis. I've resided in this city of Baton Rouge for 27 years now. Actually, I was carrying my son, Dion Willis, that was murdered by the East Baton Rouge Sheriff Department on January the 8th, 2022, just a year and a couple of months ago, right in my residential home. I feel ignored as a citizen here, as a resident here. I feel ignored. My son was actually shot, murdered through my residential door. I've reached out. I've reached out to Sid Gotron. I know we're not in that particular setting right now, but I've reached out to several of our city council leaders concerning this event that happened to my family. And I'm here to be a voice because my son, Dion Willis, no longer can speak. He was 25 when he was murdered through our door. Nothing has been done. I feel just so ignored. And as a leader of myself in this city, I've been a nurse for 18 years now, and I've saved so many lives, but that day when I was violated of my civil rights, I could not protect my own son that was murdered in my living room area with my husband and my younger 2 children in the home. And Dion was 25, just received his new job at Geismar, Brown and Root the day before. And the sheriff department came to my home unannounced. We steady kept asking, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? They came with force with an AR-15 pointed at my residential door. Every day I have to think about my son, of where he could have been right now today. He would have been 27 April the 5th of this last year. But instead, I don't have him anymore. He left me with 1 granddaughter, and she don't have a dad now. But I feel like my family was not treated equally, just like all the rest of the bullies in a uniform don't treat our families equally. Why did I have to be put, as I'm recovering from a surgery, when that day on January the 8th, 2022, when they came to my home very viciously, and we started asking, who is it? And I have a 911 call telling them I need help. My son was shot through my door. They made me think that it was an intruder coming through my door. But instead, when my son peeped out that door, my son was shot through our residential door. And I gotta be a voice. I cannot sit here and act like nothing never happened on January the 8th just because everybody else is acting like nothing never happened. My son life matter. His name was Dion Willis. If you hadn't heard about my son, today you need to know he was a real person. He was a father, a loving father at that. He didn't bother anybody. The first thing they asked me and wanted to find out, was he a convicted felon? No, Dion was not a convicted felon. And even if he was a convicted felon, he did not deserve to die that day when they had an AR-15 pointed at my door. I have served this community. I graduated from Bible college in this community in 2005. I've been a nurse for 18 years here, right here in this city. But I'm afraid now to live in this city because of what happened to my son on that day. He was a twin. He was a young man that loved his family. He had suffered depression a year and a half before, and I watched him get through that depression. But that particular day, I could not save my son, and that's why I'm here tonight. I have to be a voice for him. And so many other young black males that's being brutally their lives being taken by the people that's supposed to be protecting us. And everybody with their head down like his life didn't matter and those lives don't matter. So I'm here tonight. This has to stop. This is not right. He left behind a family that loved him. I'm a mother of 6 sons. He was one of my sons, a set of 2. He was a twin. 2 sets of twins I gave birth to. And I'm proud of that because when I was a young lady, I was a foster kid and I prayed to have a big family and God blessed me with a big family. And I had to bury one of my sons at 25 years old. That is not fair. And you need to know that this is happening right here underneath your nose in this city. It's not right. Our lives matter. Dion Willis' life matter. And all the rest of these young men who's getting dealt with at the Brave Cave and young women lives are being at the Brave Cave, lives matter. You need to hear our voice because we are real people and we love our families just as any other race love their families. God is with me, and that's how I can stand here right now today. And I still serve my community because at the end of the day, it's not about us, it's all about God. And I trust God that justice will be served for my son and so many other children that's being misrepresented and not even represented. Nobody has a voice anymore because we are afraid when I see the sheriff department. I'm afraid when I see them. There's a fear, but I pray every day that I can have a voice and my son's name will be known all over this world that he did not deserve to die that day. and justice will be served.
Anyone else here wishing to speak on the item? Anyone wishing to speak on the item? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting ready to close the public hearing. I'll pause if there's anyone wishing to speak. But once we go to council member, I'm not going to allow anyone else to speak. 3 minutes. Come on down, man.
I don't even have a lot to say. And I didn't intend to speak today. But
State your name for the record, please, ma'am.
I rushed over here from another protest for another dead child of another grieving mother who doesn't have justice for her child that was killed by police. And I thought about what she said about the fear. And I thought about the fear that I have. And my husband, who has served 25 years in the military and has one more year to go. And his plan is to try to get his son out of this country, away from the police. He has served his country for 25 years in the military, and his plan is to get his son away from the police. My son just turned 13 on Sunday. My son is 5'7" and 200 pounds. And he knows that the police don't see him as a child. He's 13 years old. And all he wanted to do for his 13th birthday was go to a Beyblade tournament in Houston and sit on the floor and play with toys. Because he's a child. He's not even probably as mature as your child, or your child, or your child, or your child, or your child. Because my 13-year-old is a baby. Because I keep him in the house. Because I'm afraid. But my child is a baby. He is such a baby that all he wanted to do for his 13th birthday was sit on the floor, play with toys in the back of a comic book store. But my husband, who has dedicated his life to serving this country, counting the days until he can get my child out of to save his life.
Councilmember Hurst.
First of all, my heart goes out to anyone that's lost a child for whatever reason, but definitely to senseless violence, whether it be from a regular citizen, a police officer, military, whatever it may be. So my heart goes out to you, and your tears are watering the seeds that have been planted by many, so that we can make the difference that we need to, so that this stops here in Baton Rouge. There's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. The parish attorney will come up to the podium. I'd appreciate it. And she may not have the answer, but again, Cleve and I'm going to tackle a couple of things, and I may need both my time. But the first thing is the housing. You know, Courtney, we've had a number of discussions about this. I don't know if you were part of those calls. I know Greg Rome was, I know Andy was, as it related to busting in the doors, getting with risk management, assessing situations. Are you adept enough to discuss how or what laws are in place that allow police to open those doors and how we get those rectified?
I believe the last time this came up, I think Councilman Dunn tried to pass some legislation about it.
We both did, and we couldn't do it because of state law superseding and I don't have that information on me right now. I don't know if you do. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, and
I want the public to hear it, because a lot of times they appeal to the council. And like Councilwoman Rocker said, you know, when we're in the back, we're fighting just like y'all are. Y'all don't see it all the time because it's an executive session and We get pissed off at the police more than you do sometimes. And it's not every police officer, because we have great police officers like any job. You're going to hire somebody, they're going to pass the test. It's like a relationship. Sometimes they get past that 90-day window and they turn into somebody else you never thought you should have dated, right? But a lot of times in those officers' situations, it's in a position where a supervisor can't see them. They do things, what they say, what goes on in the dark comes to the light, and today the light is shined. So a number of us were in D.C. last week representing the city of Baton Rouge, and we had discussions about this in D.C. And so one thing that I do want is better communication from the police department, the administration, and how they communicate. You can come to the chief if you want to, somebody, and how you communicate with the council members. Because as much as you thought we knew, is as much as we did not know. So we're in D.C. I'm coming up to Cleve, saying, Cleve, what's going on in Baton Rouge? The FBI's there. I'm getting calls from my constituents. I have no ability to answer what they're asking me. I said, but they put me in this position to be able to answer those questions. What's going on? He said, hey, man, I don't know. So I did ask one on the administration, and I found out a little bit of detail about it. I want to say even that the administration was the one that brought the FBI in. So that was a pat on the back for them for doing that. But a couple of things. So I want to address some of your concerns. So number one, we know what bad actors are. I'm going to use the chief's words on that. And we want to hold bad actors accountable as much as you do. Number two, in terms of busting in somebody's house, is not one. The crazy part is Cleve had called the parish attorney on a Friday. I called the parish attorney on a Monday. The parish attorney thought that it was the same thing we were calling about when there was two different incidences that happened in a couple of days about going into homes, tearing them apart, and they're not repairing them back. And then the insurance will not cover it. And so that stuff is managed at the state level. So what we do is reach out to our state legislators, which is also what you should do. Let your voice be heard, not just in this council chambers, but at the state level as well. Some of the concerns I have and as well is how do we get people who have been tortured to speak out about what happened to them in the same situation? Because I know a lot of people, we talk about people who deal with mental torment is because things happen as children that they are scared to speak about, and as adults. I had a college football player who had been molested, who played with me at Southern, and as he started telling me a story after we had graduated, I would have never known that this guy that played on the team with me was molested his entire life from about a baby till about 13 or 14 years old. So I'm encouraging everybody today that's experienced,
time, Councilman?
I do, that's experienced anything like this to make sure that you speak up. Don't be afraid. The people in this council will be there to protect you, have your back, and make sure that nothing else happens, and that we can't guarantee. The other part of it, what this reminded me of was Stop and Frisk in New York. You know, you could just pull anybody over at any time and strip them apart, and what it did is it built distrust in the police system in New York, and it took a hell of a long time to recover. And I think we're just recovering from Alton Sterling, and what this did was rip the Band-Aid back off. So this is Rodney King 2.0 in Baton Rouge. Doesn't matter if it's black, white, or any other. If whoever's doing it is wrong, they need to be held accountable. So I don't know what the investigation is, but I stand with everybody in that crowd when I ask the police to put handcuffs on somebody that deserves them. And you hear me say all the time when we talk about add more police to the street, put more money in the police force, giving them a raises so we can hire more police. Badges and guns don't change our community because we don't feel comfortable talking to them. We talk about community policing. This is, and I would say this, and this is just private conversations with Chief. He has had a huge effort over the past couple of years through his community policing division to build trust in the community. People that felt more comfortable giving details to prevent crimes, to resolve crimes, and what this did was send us 10 years backwards. So Chief, I thank you for your efforts. One bad apple just spoiled a bunch. or 12 bad apples, whoever was a part of that. But now I'm going to ask you to just come to the mic really quickly, Chief. While you weren't in that cave, you are responsible for the people that were. And my question for you is, number one, what is the plan in terms of arrest? Because I'm going to go direct on that. And then number two, what are your plans to restore trust in this community for your law enforcement agency?
Yeah, so first let's talk about the investigations. We've been actively working this investigation since August. The criminal side, when we first learned about it. We're gonna have a press conference on Friday. During that press conference on Friday, it's gonna be at the Baton Rouge Police Department at 11 o'clock. I will be announcing some accountability in our investigative effort. When I sit here and I listen to the pain in the mother's voice, and I know that wasn't Baton Rouge Police Department, but I do understand the hurt and pain in her voice, and some of the others, particular with the complaint in reference the search of a female. I feel your pain. I hear you loud and clear. My investigative efforts are not just about the Narcotics Processing Center of the Brave Cave. My investigation is about the unit as a whole. It's not focused on just one individual, but on the patterns and practices of that unit. I feel the same hurt. I was appalled when I heard some of the complaints. And I believe Friday, when you hear our investigative efforts, how we got here, we've come a long way, but yet we still so far away. I feel you when you say that, Councilman, about we agitated that score and took us right back. I promise you that we're committed to holding those accountable. I think you're going to hear some of that accountability on Friday. And I will reveal the specifics of those investigative efforts on Friday.
And then I had a second question, which was about restoring, and not that one more, I got to blank my mind, but how do you plan on restoring? Because, I mean, having a press conference and saying I'm putting handcuffs on somebody does not restore it. And I know what the second question was, and kind of go to it hand in hand. Because if I flipped it around and had a video of a citizen beating the brakes off a police officer, there would be no questions of who will be handcuffed that day. So how do you plan on using what's in your power to restore the trust in your police department? The press conference is not going to solve it.
The purpose of
and that can go to Mayor Broom as well. I mean,
yeah.
the crowd, yeah.
Yeah. So let me be clear about this. You know, when we set out in 2018, and we showed that when we sit and work together, there can be so many improvements, and we've seen that. This is only one part of the accountability, right? Addressing that behavior. I think this is more than just about that facility. This is about the mindset. This is about the behavior of a group that is being investigated. And I promise you it will be a thorough investigation. We're going to continue working with the community. I think the mayor highlighted early when she first spoke about the investigation. We are having conversations about some technical assistance and training that's going to come in. You know, when we implemented our procedural justice training to everybody who comes through the police academy, and we talked about those 4 tenets of voice and transparency and respect. It's unfortunate that obviously some of that training wasn't getting to some individuals. And we're going to hold those individuals accountable, but we're going to continue moving forward. We're going to continue with the training. I think that oversight committee, that oversight body that the mayor mentioned is a step in the right direction. I know we have something similar there to now, but I think this will take it to a different level. My goal when I sought out the federal assistance was in part because I knew I would not be here. Everybody knew I announced my retirement, and I wanted to make sure that there was some type of independent federal oversight as I move on to the next chapter in my life.
Councilmember Banks. Turn your mic on.
Thank you very much. I didn't have a question for you.
Okay.
There are so many systemic issues that allow incidents like this to happen in our community over and over and over again. Even here on the council, I'm not sure how many, I've lost count on who all was here in 2016. And have listened as a defense mechanism, so I won't go back to what happened in 2016 and how I felt in the council meetings and the number of people coming in regarding Alton Sterling, asking for police reform. All those things just take me back there. It's not just a situation where, and I'm just going to speak from the point of a council member here. I got a call from Laramie asking me to put this on the agenda. And I told him, Laramie, I can't put that on the agenda. I said I would get so many reasons as to why I couldn't do it, basically from the parish attorney. I said that would be I would have council members that don't look like me who would be calling the parish attorney saying, you know, this is an investigation, we don't want to hear it, I think it's too soon. I said, and our parish attorney will favor with the 7 out of 5. I said, and it won't be heard. Am I lying? I told you that? And that's what, when y'all talking about inequity in the city and on the streets with law enforcement, but that's the kind of fights I fight here on the council with the parish attorney that looks just like us. Right now, we have Gary here. Gary hardly ever comes. We don't have Eugene here. We don't have Mike McCallahan here. They were arrested the last time there was a crowd like this 2 weeks ago. But for like 3 weeks, I've been trying to get the parish attorney to settle their case. We didn't stop when people were talking about other things.
No. But let's talk about the issue, not
that's
people.
What I'm saying. So we just had a conversation and let somebody talk about the door being knocked that we talked about 3 weeks ago, and I wanted to say point of order then, but they were allowed to talk, so I'm gonna talk.
But they were talking about the issue, not a person. You know what I mean?
It's about...
Gary, I got it, boss. Yeah. I got this.
I'm sorry.
But I got this.
Hey, don't y'all do that.
I got this.
Yeah.
But let's not talk about a person. All right.
So systemically, yes, we have bad actors in the law as it relates to law enforcement, but we have bad actors in the legal field. How many times has Chief Paul come before us to get his own legal counsel? And the majority, so that he could get a handle on these kind of instances. And we cannot get 7 people to vote for him. It's all linked up, folks. That's why I say congratulations on your retirement. Because enough already. When we get a new chief, we need a new parish attorney. Anything that's about black injustice that goes on in this city, we do not have the backing of our black parish attorney. But I'm the only one saying it. He needs to go. And so for me, as a council member, And my colleague asked me, what can we do about this? You know, and it may not be anything we could do today, but the thing that people need to understand is that when Black people don't have a voice, they have to be creative in the ways that they get the message out to the masses. So yes, we can't vote a yes or no, but it needed to be that mother, if nobody else, needed that ability to stand and share her truth on a grander stage. That is, I was just on a podcast about community trauma. Community trauma does not end with the incident. It lingers on for generations. I had a colleague when we talked about settling cases for people just like y'all who said, well, they're not, the other lawyers not getting paid anymore. Why it hurts, why it matters. That's the kind of insensitivity that we have sitting on this council. It's horrible, y'all. It was nice to hear that grandstand performance earlier. But in the end of the day, look at how they vote. Look at how they vote. I'm just telling you, we got a sheriff running right now. I hope I ain't doing it. People in parish prison dying like this every day. I've been bringing it to the council since 2013. That brother gonna slide right through for another election. Every 4 years he's saying, I'm retiring. But y'all are letting it happen. So this is systemic. This is not an isolated incident, and we're gonna see it over and over and over again. And the people sitting right here, they're gonna keep on holding us tight and giving the most foolish, unfeeling reasons as to why they're not voting. It's crazy. That's what we're dealing with. That's what I'm dealing with up here. But anyway, that's my time.
Councilmember Amoroso.
I do appreciate Cleve bringing this before the council. I think the people are frustrated and they want to be heard, and I'm really glad and appreciate every one of y'all coming out tonight. We're all frustrated about this situation. There was a few months ago that another police officer had to be let go. Several years ago, he was let go with the police department because he had sexually molested a young man and a woman within her house. Even then, after he was let go, he was rehired not too long ago. Well, when the whole thing came to light, he was let go again. And Councilwoman Banks is correct. This thing is going on and on and on, and it really has to be stopped. You know, we are all in the same place because I too am a grandmother. And we all want to be able to teach our young children and our grandchildren and our own children, look, there's a police officer. You can trust him. If you need help, you go see him. But we are getting to a point today that I don't know that I can actually tell my grandchildren, if you need help, go find a police officer, because you don't know what's going to happen. I asked the question about the other police officer several months ago that was let go. I asked an attorney, I said, so let me ask you this question. If he was a regular citizen, would he have to register as a sexual predator? And that goes on for the rest of your life. And that officer said, yes, he would. He'd have to register. So is that what we're looking at with this situation here? The way that this woman was treated the other day is, for whatever reason, she was picked up because she had prescription drugs in her car. That is just incredible. I have prescription drugs in my car. You have prescription drugs in my car. God forbid they see my little package of vitamins that I mix together, because there's no telling what would happen. But the question is today, if these police officers that abused these folks obviously sexually abused this woman, would they too have to be registered as a sexual offender, sexual predator? Thank you.
Councilman Moak.
Thank you. Look, I haven't even taken any notes, and it's first of all, to the people that came and spoke, thank you very much for coming up and speaking and saying what's on your mind. And I feel like that's what kind of encouraged me to do this right now, to say something. Whenever we heard about this, and Jen, Councilwoman Rocker brought it up a while ago, as far as our role and responsibility as council members and what we can and can't do. Look, we know this has been going on for a long time. We know that there's officers that are being investigated. And a lot of the times, a lot of these discussions like this that we have, it all comes back to police department and what's going on and who's going after who and so on. With all due respect, Chief Paul, I think 7 years you've been with us. 7 years you've been with us. I appreciate the fact of finding the bad actors in this department and everything else. And we talk about trust in the police department and everything. But the buck stops with you. We all know that. You've said that before and so on. And I want these people that perpetrated this and that took people to that place and assaulted these people or whatever that happened or claimed to happen and everything else. But it's a stain on East Baton Rouge Parish. It's a stain on the city of Baton Rouge. It's a stain on the police department. And everyone has to be held accountable. And I can't imagine whether it's you, and it's been going on for a long time, previous police chiefs and so on, that wouldn't know about this, that wouldn't know anything or had complaints before or enough complaints. Several people stood up here and said that they've complained about it. They've said something about it. They brought it to people's attention. And yet nothing was done until some investigator or however it got out found out. And with all due respect to your position, police chief, I think, and I would ask, that you step back for a while from your position. I know you're fixing to leave, but I think it all has to be held accountable. Everyone. To put trust back in the community, everyone has to be held accountable until the investigation is going through. Again, like I said, even former police chiefs, as far as this investigation goes with the FBI, I don't know how we can show the public that we're truly investigating internally or whatever else when you say you're sitting here didn't know anything about it, or you said before you didn't know anything about it, or hasn't acted on something previously that happened. That's just my feeling.
That's your word. That's a lie.
Hey, Chief. Chief, I'm gonna let you come to the mic, though. I'm gonna let you come to the mic.
No, I'm not blaming. Look, I want to get this straight. I am not blaming Chief Paul.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna let Chief Paul come to the mic and respond. I'm gonna let Chief Paul come to the mic and respond. No, we officers, we don't want to arrest anybody. Hey, Gary, if you let me do my job, I'm gonna do my job. Gentlemen, we don't want to arrest anybody. Don't. Nobody asked him to leave.
What is his name? Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Chamber.
Gary, you can't take over the meeting. So, Gary, you can't take over the meeting. So relax, please. You're in the meeting. You've been allowed to speak. So relax, please, sir. I know, but we're gonna keep going. Go ahead, Councilmember Moak.
if I came off accusing you directly of not specifically doing anything, whatever, what I'm saying is with the investigation going on, for the transparency of the whole department, you're the top police chief. Would it not behoove us to step back, let you step back, and I know you've contacted the FBI, and the FBI has been there, to make it more transparent, is what I'm trying to say. Mr. Chambers, I apologize if it came off.
Mo.
Yes, sir. I want this matter resolved, and I want the place shut down, and I want everything, I know it's been shut down, I want it gone. And I want all of this resolved. But we can't accept the fact of where everything, the buck starts and stops.
So let's talk bucks. I've been quiet for 4.5. I haven't been here 7 years. I'm sorry, Mayor President, but I'm going to speak my heart on this one. Because let's talk about processes. Let me count. Because this is important. 14 police officers were terminated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 resigned under investigation. And then there's appeals. And you know what you do? You strip my funding. Are you going to pay the attorney all the money that I already owe them for the bad cops that the Civil Service Board, where we're going to be here tomorrow, and none of y'all going to be here. And y'all sitting here trying to deal off these people's emotions, and some of y'all the problem. Jen Rocker, you sit there, defund the police department's budget from a legal standpoint, and then come here because I don't have legal representation and I got to play lawyer to fight these bad actors. Let's talk facts. Let's talk facts. And then what you do? Then you go and you appoint people to the Civil Service Board that have direct ties to the union. There are 5 people on the Civil Service Board. What's wrong with good law-abiding citizens? You putting people on the Civil Service Board with direct ties to the union and wonder why they reverse the decisions that I make. I've been quiet, but I'm not going to be quiet no more. Where were you when they called my kids gangbangers? Where were you? You know about the pictures when they called my black boys gangbangers, and I prayed for them. When the former chiefs of police sit down and share pictures of me and my girlfriend, and I prayed for them. Where were you, Mocha? When they went to Texas, to the camp, and called me a nigger because I was trying to bring reform in this police department. Where were you then, speaking up for them? Don't sit here and play like you don't know about this group of body that try to force the mayor to sit there and fire me for lies and say I only discipline white folks, which is a lie. Don't pretend like you don't know that. Don't pretend like you don't know that. Talk about my little black kids, and I prayed for y'all. I prayed for them. And you sit here like you different, like you not in cahoots, because I'm going to tell you what they said. They got 6 of y'all in their pocket. Facts. 6 of y'all in their pocket. That's what the union said. The same union tomorrow, when we have a hearing right here before this body, where I said that the search and seizures were improper and illegal. How many of y'all going to be here tomorrow? When the attorneys fight and say I should not have disciplined that office. I've been quiet for 5.5 years. But after November the 8th, I'm not going to be quiet no more. I've been praying for y'all. You think I don't know about the backdoor meetings y'all have with these people, and you sit here like you some... Come on now.
Thank you, Chief. Councilmember Hudson. Yeah. Councilmember Hudson.
Hey, Chief, so I've got a couple questions.
Chief, got a couple of questions for you.
My black boys, you know how it feels for a black man to have little black kids that I have to have conversations with about law enforcement, and they're sharing pictures, calling my kids gangbangers? The same people you have these backdoor meetings? Do you know how that feels?
Stop this time.
Do you know how it feels to have police officers telling other officers, tell me when you see the chief out there, so we can come in case he's drinking, so they can pull me over? The same people y'all have these backdoor meetings with. Let's have these conversations today. And I pray for y'all. And even in my retirement, when you know I'm leaving and there's going to be accountability, you still doing what you do. Shame on you. When you go home and you think about your children, I love my black boys the same way you love theirs. Yours.
Councilmember Hudson.
Chief, give me a little history on the Brave Cave. How does it get its name? Well,
Gary, let the man answer the question. Let him answer the question. Go ahead.
The facility was created about 19 years ago, sir.
and so that facility has been in existence for 19 years, and it's been used in that context for 19 years, or has it served different functions throughout that time?
What I can tell you is how it's been used, probably the past decade. Specialized divisions has been using it for processing evidence when they make arrests involving narcotics. Specialized units like narcotics and street crimes use it for prisoner processing, and also the package drugs for evidence purposes.
Are we storing anything there?
No, sir.
Okay. How are those legitimate functions that the facility was being used for, how are those being handled today?
That facility is shut down. There is no use at that facility, as the mayor stated. There's none. So
But there
that
were
responsibility has been pushed to other facilities.
So do we have similar facilities at other precincts?
At headquarters, at the violent crime unit, as well as precincts.
All right. Where does street crimes fall within your organization chart? If I'm looking at your deputy chiefs and that sort of thing, is it in patrol or is it in criminal investigations? How is it handled?
Under the Criminal Investigations Division.
Okay. So my last question is, we as a council have dealt with issues with that particular officer, Troy Lawrence Jr. I think we all know about his history and the issues that he's had. My question is, with his record, with his internal affairs record, how does he end up in street crimes as opposed to somewhere else within the force where he's not interacting with the public?
He was transferred there by his father.
I'm sorry?
By his father.
But I'm looking at your org chart here. Criminal investigations is under Mr. Darren Moses, it looks like. So how does that decision get made?
He said he coordinated with Deputy Chief Darren Moses on the transfer.
Okay. Just feedback. And look, Chief, I've worked with you in the past whenever you've brought to us concerns about Ms. Cherry in the union and that kind of thing. So I think you and I have a pretty good standing with each other. I hope we do. I've always felt like we have. But that's an issue for me, right? If an officer that we all know has had an issue, it's documented in the media, it's out there everywhere. If he's able to go and get into a specialized unit like street crimes, that would have been a red flag to me. I mean, I don't know where that investigation needs to go. I don't know who needs to follow up on that, but that's an issue for me.
Yes, sir. He's not here anymore. That issue has been addressed with him. Obviously, I put his father on administrative leave on accountability through my investigative efforts. So I do understand your concerns on that piece right there. There were some mistakes made in that, and it has been addressed.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rocker.
So I'm not going to ask the mayor to stand up before us for my next request, but I do have to say, if this is what de-escalation looks like in a professional setting, I need the police chief to be immediately removed. That is the most unprofessional display of someone that is in administration that I have ever seen.
Go ahead.
We don't remove you
Let's,
from being
let's
drunk.
hey. Let's finish. Let's
Excuse
finish.
me?
Let's not go back and forth, council members. Go ahead, Councilmember Rocker.
So, I'm sorry.
Gary.
No,
Let's let
it's
the
not
council
the
member
truth,
finish.
Gary. It's not the truth. In fact, if I remember correctly, why are you trying to keep me from speaking?
Gary.
Are you scared?
Gary,
Are
let-
you scared? Because
Rock.
let me tell you, he came up to this podium and said, hold the folks accountable. You want me to hold and then I got accused of grandstanding. We had a settlement come before us with Troy Lawrence. He came before us
Gary,
with
please.
a settlement for Troy Lawrence.
Please. Hey,
He has been
relax.
a repeated.
Gary.
He has. He has been a.
Daryl,
He
hold on,
has
hold on.
been a repeated bad actor, and he has stayed on our police force. He has been a repeated bad actor, and he has
Give me a
remained
second.
on our police force.
Jen, give me 1 second. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been trying to remain calm because this is a very, very serious matter that everyone is passionate about, and we've seen a series of emotions take place. But we cannot lose all civility in terms of how we conduct business. Now, folks have been allowed to be passionate, speak their piece, and let's continue to move forward. A very, very productive matter. We don't have to, as I've said time and time again, we can be harsh, but we don't have to be harsh on each other. It's a very, very emotional issue. People are upset, and things are not right, and it didn't happen overnight. We know that there's a long history of atrocity that has taken place in our community, and there are very, very many different people who are responsible. But tonight, we're here to talk about the issue of the Brave Cave. And so let's try to keep the conversation germane to the topic. And let's try to maintain a certain level of respect and decorum, not for each other, but for yourself. Because before you can respect someone else, you got to respect yourself. So let's do that. Let's continue with the meeting. It's 5:49. General, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Please continue with your comments.
So folks came up to this podium and asked us to hold the parties responsible. I told you that we were aware of Troy Lawrence's actions long before the Brave Cave came out. I told you that. A settlement came before this council. Now it's the same actor that's escorting people back and forth. And I tell you, as council members, we were aware and we asked for action to be taken. Yet we sit here and we have scapegoating going on. We have people making commentary when we're trying to hold the folks accountable. And apparently, the truth doesn't want to be heard. You don't want to hear the truth? That's fine. But I'm going to say it. No one can deny that that man has stayed on the police force this entire time. No one can deny that he was within the employ of BRPD while Chief Murphy Paul is the chief. If that truth doesn't resonate with you, then I don't understand how or why. And is it because you're looking at me and my skin's white? Yeah. Does my truth not resonate because of the color of my skin?
We're telling you, we trust him.
Go ahead, Jen, continue to talk.
So there's a Brave Cave that has been in existence that people are getting hauled back and forth to, but we are to believe that no one knew about it? We're to believe that this just, no one within administration, no one had any idea it existed? And then we're to believe that on August 28th, when the first report was made, was when everyone came all of a sudden awake to realize that there was an actual Brave Cave. We're not to understand or believe that our folks weren't made aware months ahead of time that that existed, that there weren't complaints from constituents from before that time. So that's my question to ask you. I am sitting here trying to be helpful and trying to tell you that there is a problem. But I feel like no one wants to hear it. So I was accused of not approving the police chief's funding for his lawyers? Well, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, he's hired Brazil Saxe. He has a personal lawyer from the parish attorney's office called Dealey Morris, and he has the whole host of attorneys from the parish attorney's office. We didn't approve funding from Brazil Saxe because we found out they were overbilling the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. We also found out there were people working on that contract that weren't listed to work on that contract. Yet here we are.
Point of order.
We're deflecting. We're deflecting on what is the real issue here.
Thank you.